G'day everyone, it's SDS SuperCoach providing SuperCoach content for you. I'm here to present me and SuperCoach Edge's top 8 defenders for the SuperCoach coming season for 2024. We're going to be ranking our top 8 defenders and see if we have any differences, any agree or disagree, all that sort of thing. So I'll be doing this for each line, but first up we're doing the defenders, and I will introduce you to Damien from SuperCoach Edge. In my opinion, SuperCoach Edge has the best intro out of the SuperCoach community. Like, genuinely, I replay back 10 times every video. So here's Damien from SuperCoach Edge. How you going, legend?
G'day, mate. Thanks so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to jump on and do collaborations, but to do it with yourself for the first time as well is super exciting. And no, I do love your work that you do as well, that you pump out, and very knowledgeable. So for anyone that's tuning in from our regular content, we do employ you. A little subscribe button down the bottom there. Make sure you press that and subscribe to SDS SuperCoach, because he does some absolutely ripping stuff. And I do love what he produces. So absolutely keen and a privilege to come on SDS.
Oh, thank you, Damien. Too kind, too kind. Not the greatest SuperCoach content creator in the world, but we get by in the end of the day. So I reckon
You're
we
up
got to
there. Don't
start.
worry.
Yeah, we
Don't
got
have to
to.
sell yourself. You're right up there.
Yeah. I try. I try. Um.
Yeah,
So
as you all
now,
do.
yeah, mate. Uh, all right, so we're going to do our top 8 defenders. We're going to start off with our honourable mentions. I believe, Damien, you have 2 and I've got 2. Would I be correct with that?
Yes, indeed.
All right, so my honourable mentions, and these are 2 blokes that were actually ranked in the top 6 last season, but I've just edged them out into the honourable mentions. You know, could get into top 8, but haven't quite fitted
Mm.
them in. I've got Luke Ryan, who I think the reasoning is because I think Jordan Clark might eat into a bit of his score. I've heard he's had a ripping preseason, so I've currently not got Luke Ryan in the top 8, and maybe a big call, Jack Sinclair. I've put in honourable mention. I'm a bit concerned about that niggling calf that he's been dealing with over the preseason. He might miss round 1. Also, I think it looks like he's going to be moving a bit more into the midfield. So, and he dropped, I think, a few points when he was playing in the midfield. I think it's a good move for a St Kilda's perspective, because I think it's the type of midfielder they sort of need in there. But I think from a Supercoach perspective, I think that might drop him down just a tad. Who are your honourable mentions, Damo?
Well, you have absolutely nailed it. You've hit the nail on the head there. Those are both my guys.
Oh, really?
100%. Yeah. So Sinclair, I'm not so much a fan of, just because of the fact that, as you mentioned there, with injury first up, but I think with NWM, as we know him, which is
Yep.
Wanganeen Miller, the role that he played last year was very, very similar to Sinclair. And I think, as we saw in 2023, at various stages, Ross the Boss was pushing Sinclair out into the midfield. And I think part of that reason was because of the fact that Miller was doing such a good job in virtually the same role as Sinclair. So I reckon Wanganeen Miller is going to really eat into Sinclair's average, and just his ability to rack up points, as we know, in that sort of rebounding halfback role. And then with injury, that's just a cherry on the top. Excuse me. But outside of that, Ryan, as you mentioned as well, I haven't really been a massive fan of Ryan over the years. And the main reason is just because I can find that we've spoken about it on our podcast, and we always refer back to Ryan being used as sort of that, switch between when he plays as sort of the loose defender, you know, third, manning the third forward type role. He actually plays quite well. But you find various stages, even in games where, if Frio get the jump on their opponent, then they start to sort of, fall behind a bit, and opposition key forward starts to get off the chain. Ryan's normally the guy to be switched to that sort of accountable role and play a lockdown role. And, people tuning in probably remember there's various stages there where, Ryan's got like 70 at halftime. We're like, okay, good. His owners, he's going to smash out a big score. And then all of a sudden, Longmuir changes the magnets and switches Ryan to be a lockdown defender. And that really does put a cap on his ceiling and his scoring capability. So I think that still is going to put a little bit of a limit on how much he can score. But I think aside from that, and you mentioned as well with Young, there might be stages there where Young goes back. Conversely as well, it might actually work in his favor, because I think, there's now more opportunities for him to take kick-ins, all that sort of stuff as well. So I can see both sides of the coin, But having said that, I think there's going to be more, I think more regularity of him potentially switching his role in game, and just being a very, very frustrating pick. I think that's part of the reason why he's not in my team, but I still think he's on the cusp of being potentially, in that top 8.
Very good explanation, Damo. You've absolutely nailed that. Like, another thing I didn't mention about Luke Ryan as well was I looked up, I decided to do some mathematics on him last season, and because I just thought, well, he's scoring really well when Fremantle lose, but for some reason he doesn't do very well when they win. And
Mm,
I think it was like a 20-point differential when Fremantle lose compared to when they win. And I
wow.
just think I personally don't think anyone should base their Supercoach picks on if a team's going to get better or worse. We just don't know if that's going to happen. But I do think Freo will look to play a lot more quicker and more attacking, which may limit Luke Ryan because he's a bit of a slow plotter of a kick and just looks for the cheapies down the back. And I don't think they'll look for that as much. All right. I reckon we'll head into the top 8 now. Yeah,
Mhm.
a couple of interesting names I've gone here, but look, number 8, who first of all isn't actually a defender just yet, but I've put him
Mm.
in. Number 8, I've gone Nick Martin from the Bombers. So, yeah, I'm just hoping that I've currently got Nick Martin in my team, and that this might be biased because maybe I'm just hoping that this bloke's a top 8 defender, but I think the role's there. I think they're looking to feed him the ball. I thought he used the ball a lot better against the Cats. It was a little bit dodgy against the Saints, but I thought Nick Martin, I saw enough. And I think I don't think they're really going to move him out of that role. Like, he's been training all preseason down at that halfback role, so I don't think there'd be much concern from him to move back to a wing or that sort of thing. I think he's pretty well locked there. Yeah, I think Martin's number 8 for me. What about you, Damien?
Yeah, I like that. I like that indeed. Oh, sorry, I must correct you as well. It's Damon, but I get Damien all the time, so don't stress. You'll find I respond to anything, so that's my fault for not picking it up.
I did the footy mailbag with Damo, and that's why it's
Oh,
getting me confused. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I assume it's the
it's funny you
same.
mentioned that. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I've had quite a few people comment on our YouTube videos being like, Damo, it's great to see you back. I'm a massive fan of Jock Reynolds. And I'm like, oh,
No, no, no,
I'm
no,
sorry,
you got the
I'm
wrong
not
one.
the Damo, but thank you so much. And I'm like trying to plug the footy mailbag as well. I'm like, go and check
Yeah,
them out because that's the actual Damo and I'm the imposter. But all good.
my
I go by
apologies.
any name starting with D. It's all the same to me. David,
Yeah,
Darren, all that sort of stuff. No worries. But
Dazza.
Dazzler, yeah, you can call me Dazzler.
Yeah, I'll
But
call
I,
I'll
I
call you that.
totally, yeah, go with that. Yeah, just carry the
Dazzler.
gag on. Dazzler, the old Dazzler. But yeah, Martin, he's I will say he's among my list, but I won't ruin it as to where he is as yet. But I totally agree on the points that you make with Martin. And being you're a Bombers man, aren't you? Or you're Hawks?
Don't don't even think about thinking me as a Bombers supporter ever again.
You're a Hawks
That's the
man.
most
You're a
disgraceful
Hawks.
thing I've ever heard in my life. Don't associate me with that club, all right? Yes, Hawthorn, you got it right second time around. Don't mention, don't,
You're the
no,
Hawks.
no.
Sorry, I just
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just had to give you an elbow back because I get my name wrong.
yeah.
No, a bit of banter got you there. No, but I totally agree with Martin. Like he's an absolute gun. But I'll delve into him where he's on my list very shortly. But for me, I've got it's kind of up in the air as to who goes in this spot. But I've got the man I just spoke of earlier in Wanganeen Millera. I just
Like
think
it.
he's going to take his game to the next level. Again, like I was saying with Sinclair, I think there's going to be more chance of him playing through the middle. And then even with you would have seen in today's game as we record this, it was the St Kilda North Melbourne game, and Riley Bonner out of nowhere as well is really playing that nice role. And I don't know if he's going to keep it when Sinclair comes back, but it says to me there's even more, I guess, competition for that sort of rebounding halfback spot. So again, I think all of that adds up to me that, Sinclair is going to struggle, but conversely, I think it probably frees up Wangan Miller to do what he does best. Last year, he averaged quite well. I think it was 85 odd, thereabouts. And yeah, I think he's just going to take his game to the next level, potentially average around about a 90, maybe push it to a 95, who knows? But yeah, this is sort of the point inside the top 8 where I'm thinking, okay, he's pushing there, and I think he could be pushing. But yeah, he's not someone that I would start, but I can see the appeal in those people that want to jump on him.
Absolutely. Nah, I rate that chair because I do actually don't mind the Wang Dean Miller a pick. It's just more the fact of just not really sure if I can fit him in with all these other options. So nah, I like that call. Number seven, I've gone a very popular man in Hayden Young. Um, moved into the midfield, looked really good against Port Adelaide, and I think that just assured everyone that if there were any doubts, I think he just shut that down completely. I thought he looked fantastic. 7 tackles, 2 goals, three from memory, and just looked fantastic. A real point of difference in that Fremantle midfield, and I just think, yeah, I think he's perfectly fine as a selection, and I've haven't got him in top six, but I think that's perfectly fine for where he's priced at.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So I will give a bit of a spoiler. He is inside my top six, and he's right up there. That's all I'll say. But I have really high hopes for him. New role, everything else, and you hit the nail on the head there. He's just looked sublime, and it's just a shame as well because there was so many people that jumped off him. We've been rabbiting on about him on our platform, and yeah, off the back of his match sim and whatnot, and Longmuir again was throwing around the magnets and stuff, and was kind of rotating as many players as he could through the middle, and people were bit fearful. Oh, maybe he's not going to get that midfield role. But as we saw, in the official preseason game, looked really, really good. Kicked 2 goals thereabouts, and multiple scoring shots as well. He's such a big kick. That's the one thing I love about Hayden Young. And we saw that when he was playing in defence, but he's just going to be an absolute weapon for Freo in the midfield. So if you're a Freo fan, I think you've got a lot to look forward to. But for me, I have the man you just spoke of before. Oh, sorry, I've jumped the gun here. I've given away who it was. No, sorry. First up, we've got Houston for me. I think there's potential that he could finish inside the top six. But I just think, I don't know if last year was sort of an out of the box season. Uh, when we spoke about him on our podcast, you look at his career and he's averaged around about, going through the years, 89, 91. This is from 2019, 89, 91, 86, 99, and then jumped up to 106 last year. So I don't know if he's just sort of a late blossomer or if it's a case of maybe it's just a bit of an anomaly type season. But I think as we saw in the preseason game, he came out firing. So there's reason enough to say that he could potentially match that average. And I think he probably will roundabout. But yeah, I think he might slide potentially just a bit, but I think he will average over 100. But for me, yeah, I've just got him in that round about that seventh spot for me, potentially six.
Okay, nice. I rate it. I rate it. Like I've got Houston in here as well, but a little bit later down the track. We'll get to that at some point. But as we move on to number six, he's actually a bloke that's actually on the screen right now, and maybe people might be surprised with how low I'm ranking the great man. But I'm going with my captain, James Sicily. A
Ooh.
bit of a drop, I know, I know. I'll sort of give my thought process here. I do think Hawthorn will try to free him up as much as possible, but I think what comes with that is risk of being tagged. We saw what happened in the North Melbourne game. And then when he doesn't have the right to be free, because I think what you need to do in that Hawthorn backline, if he's roaming free, I think you just got to tag him. And because our backlines all over the shop will I think we'll just about concede the most goals in the comp this year. But yeah, so I think that's the reason. And then if he's more accountable, then he's more accountable. He's not as dominant, but I guess that eliminates the risk of a tag. So look, I've got Sicily in at six. I mean, it's pretty close between third and sixth for me when it comes to average. So I just sort of go a little bit bold here, just more because of Supercoach usually it's hard to predict like the top eight. So it's usually not the same list every year. So I just thought I'd drop this bloke down a few spots. I still think he's going to be top six. But I just think there's too many worries for me with Sicily. So I've got him at six.
Yeah, I totally agree. Should I reveal where I've got Sicily? He's coming up very, very soon, or do you want me to just hold on to it?
Hold on to it. Let
Yeah,
me know if it's number six.
okay. Yeah, but he's very, very close to six. I'll give it that because I reckon he's going to slide as well. And all those points that you've made are part of the reason why I think he's going to slide as well and not be, the top two or three like he has been in recent seasons. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head there in terms of being a potential tag option. And we saw, as you said there, against North Melbourne, scored a 58. And then against St Kilda, he absolutely, as you would know as a fan yourself, first time around, he absolutely smashed it with 172. Second time around, Ross the boss is like, no, we're having none of this.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
ended up putting pretty much a, defensive sort of, or forward press, conversely on him, and just blocked up any space that he had to, take those
yeah,
easy marks, all that sort of stuff. And ended up scoring what was it, 102, I think it was. So yeah, not the best. And even sort of his finish towards the season, I reckon there was other teams that kind of took notice of that. And they thought, well, he's kind of the key cog for Hawthorn, especially coming out of defense, on transition play, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, kind of worked him out, which really did scare me. And in my first initial team setup, I had him in my team, and then I was looking at it. I was like, I just don't know if I can take the risk. I think he still will have those big games, but I think there might be a little bit less frequent just because of that tag factor. And as you'd know as well, the poor Hawks absolutely decimated in defense at the moment, so it may call upon him at any given day to, depending on matchups and opponents and stuff, he may have to play those accountable type roles. So
yep.
I think there's potential there that off the back of that, his average will drop, and he's going to slide down the list. But I still think he's going to be a top six. And it's sort of a question to you as well, SDS. Would you think that he's an option that you'd be keen to jump on in season and drop in price?
Yeah, I think he's the type of bloke that can get 100K cheaper than what he currently is. Similar to sort of last season where people were able to pick him up for 520, I think we'll be able to potentially get him as low as 540K. So I think Sicily, yeah, we can grab him at a cheaper price than this in my book. But yeah, so that's really sort of the plan. I certainly want to get him into my side at some point. But I'll just wait for the right time and moment and maybe the right matchup. So yeah, that's sort of my thought process there with Sicily.
Yeah, I jumped at him last year when he dropped in price down to his lowest price point of 533, and absolutely loved it. From then on, he rewarded me quite well, apart from getting suspended a couple of times, which
Oh yeah.
you've got to come to expect. But held him all the way through. Apart from that game, I think he was out for 3 games or thereabouts in a row, so I had to get rid of him. But then I brought him back in, and I thought, oh, it might be a little bit of a pod, but it wasn't to be because Ross the boss skittled that, and yeah, it was lesson learned. But yeah, you could probably say that I was a little bit burnt off the back of that second time round, and knowing what it's like, having watched him very, very closely, almost felt like a bit of a Hawks fan
Yeah.
at that point of the season, where just like, is he going to get the like loose play? But yeah, not to be.
Yeah. Fair enough. So is he at number 6 for you?
Sorry, I've bloody sidetracked that, haven't
No, that's all right.
I? No, he's so that'll I'll probably save my discussion on Sicily. He's actually next up. So before him in sixth spot, because so 5 and 6, I reckon you could probably shift them around anyway. But I think Martin for me is I've got him in there for at 6 at the moment, but could push upwards and Sicily could slide. So we spoke of Martin, and yeah, I just think from what we saw, especially in the preseason game, the official preseason game, he just looked absolutely elite. And, we associate it, with the Dacos role when everyone talks about, rebounding off halfback. And I think of any player that has played that rebounding role, almost the quarterback as they call it, I think Nick Martin reminded me the most of Dacos. Just his running capacity, running up, almost various stages, like into the forward line. And he almost plays a bit of a hybrid sort of wing slash halfback role because he's kind of like following the play on transition up and back each time. Very unaccountable. So it may come back to bite him at various stages, but I think from a super coach perspective, he's going to be right up there. And it's going to help all of us as well when he eventually gets the defender, midfielder, DPP tag as well.
Very much so, yep. Yeah, I think Nick Martin's right up there around the mark of being really solid. All right, so at number 5 for me, I've got Jaden Short. Now, as I said to you beforehand, I'm basing this off
Mm.
average, not games played, because it's hard to predict injuries. But I've got Jaden
Yep.
Short in there. Maybe I'm just buying too much into the preseason hype once again with this man. But I've got him in at 5. I think under a new coach, looked like he got a lot of the kick-ins. Just looked really good, really fit, and I really liked his game. So I've roughly got him around 108 as an average, but Yeah, I don't know. I've just got a feeling about Jaden Short. I know people might go, "No, you're jumping the gun once again," but well, I've done it. What are you going to do about it? So I've got him in there, and yeah, look, I'm not sure if you have too, but yeah, I've stuffed it. Let's put him in.
Yeah, well, when you threw his name up, I was like, geez, he's actually one guy I've forgotten about. Because I reckon he's probably on the cusp for me. But I can see the appeal and I can see, from what we've seen in the limited, snapshot of him across the preseason, it looks as though he's, the Jaden Short of old, back in the day. Just given that freedom under Uze, now the new coach. And yeah, if he does get that old role back and you know, sort of patrolling, I guess you could probably say, across halfback and then pushing up the ground as well. The Dacos role, he's very much suited to it as well because he can run all day. And the worry was under Dimmer, where he's getting pushed, into the midfield, and that just obviously wasn't conducive to point scoring. Whereas normally it probably is, but with Jaden Short, just having to kick under pressure, all that sort of stuff, just doesn't suit his game when he's got time and space. To do his thing. He's such a clean user of the footy. So I do like it. It's a good pick.
Yeah, no, I just thought I'd absolutely send it. Who's number 5 for you, mate?
So number five, I won't go into detail because I just spoke about him before and got I sidetracked
Oh yeah,
myself.
Sicily.
Apologies for
Yep.
that. But it is Sicily, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's enough said about Sis, and hopeful that he can score all right. But like you said, I think we could be able to jump on him for a bit of a bargain in season.
Absolutely. Uh, what's your nickname now? What am I calling
Oh
you?
yeah, Dazzler. Call me
Dazzler.
Dazzler.
Dazzler. Yeah, we'll stick with that for
Dazzler.
now. Look, one thing I've noticed is we've only got 6 minutes left in the call. So what I'm actually thinking, instead of rushing our way through to the top four, I reckon we'll make this a part one, and then and if you got time, mate, we'll do a part
Yeah,
two.
absolutely.
I'll save the meeting and then we'll do a part two and we'll reveal our top four. So if you guys are watching
Good idea.
this, make sure you tune in because we're about to do our second part of the video, which is revealing our top four. And yeah, we'll reconvene, Damo. Damo, Dazzler. We'll
Yeah,
reconvene.
call me Damo Dazzler. Damo is
Yeah,
actually correct, but you can call me Dazzler.
yeah. I'll call you
Everyone's
one
gonna
of the
be so
names.
confused now.
Yeah, no worries. Look, yeah, we'll be back, guys, and we'll do a part two. So, if you have watched, have a look out for part two. We'll see you then.
See you then.